Hello, I'm Beverly Elliott. I am the executive director and one of the co-founders of the African American Museum of Southern Arizona.
Hi, my name is Nakia Johnson. I am the director here at the African American Museum of Southern Arizona.
I came out here to the University of Arizona. I'm a U of A alum. I also have a master's degree from Prescott College, so shout out to Prescott, so right here in the state of Arizona. I was a executive director and a specialist at Canyon Ranch Resort for many years. And from there, with my education, I switched over because of children to a school district. So I was also a school counselor, educator in Tucson Unified School District. During that time, I also was a member of the Tucson chapter of the Links Incorporated. It is a nonprofit, so I was doing a lot of nonprofit work. I grew up with a mom who did a lot of nonprofit work. And so I was always looking for ways to give back to the community. So the way this all began was during the pandemic. One of our 10 grandchildren wanted to do an assignment that was given to him in first grade by his teacher. How do I write something wonderful about an African-American hero during Black History Month? So he wanted to do something special. He didn't want to do Martin Luther King or W.E.B. Du Bois because he said everybody's going to do that. So what about the people that live here in this area that are famous or people who have contributed to the community? Well, there wasn't one. There was no museum. I had no way of telling him. I had mentioned I'm from Michigan, so when I went back and told him after a little research, he was a little upset and wanted to know where the Black people were before we got here. And he told me that I should start a museum. And so here we are. Welcome to the African American Museum of Southern Arizona. It's the first African American museum in the state.
My background, I have been in the nonprofit sector my entire life. I started off working with Boys and Girls Club. I'm a club kid myself, and so being a club kid and going through all of the programs and kind of working myself up the ranks, as one would say, held every part-time job that one can have, and ultimately moving here to Arizona as I took a position with Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Scottsdale, but I worked on the Wallapai Indian Reservation in Peach Springs, Arizona. And so I spent about three and a half years there. And then ultimately my husband found Tucson, Arizona, and we moved down and I took a position with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson, and in doing so also got connected to another local nonprofit, IMU 360, local grassroots. I have been on the board in a volunteer capacity for about 8 years now, assisting with partnership development and fundraising and grant writing and all the things that go within the nonprofit sector. And then I spent some time with another nonprofit focused on providing in-home support services to aging adults and persons with physical, intellectual, and developmental disabilities as their community relations manager, ultimately landing right here at the museum, which has been a whirlwind for me. I have been part of the museum since May of 2025, and Beverly has done, honestly, an amazing job with onboarding me and getting acclimated with the amazing work that we do at the museum. You know, our tagline, we are a movement more than museum, couldn't be truer. You know, we partner with so many various nonprofit organizations and community-based organizations here to really ensure that we are amplifying Black history across Southern Arizona. Having the opportunity to actually go up to Camp Naco and visit the place where the Buffalo Soldiers lived and worked. I mean, it really feels like you're on holy ground when you are up there.
I'd taken a visit down to Camp Naco, and my husband and I were there for something else, and they said, Camp Naco is very close. We went over there, and a gentleman, I think his name was Lobo, possibly, we were just standing, looking outside the fence, and he drove up, and he said, would you like a tour? Oh my gosh, yes, on his motorcycle, and we were just overwhelmed that somebody's going to open this gate. And we were the only two, and he took us on a tour before they even started any of the construction, but he was giving us all the ideas. So we walked that amazing those amazing grounds before they were really touched and cleaned up. And it certainly did feel like when you passed where you said this was the hospital, that your heart just all of a sudden grew to love whoever lived here and walked here. And I had been wanting to share with the community and our state that there's this amazing food art, as I call it, that is historic in African American families. And so when this opportunity came up, I couldn't resist to share with people the different foods that African American folks use to celebrate different holidays, whether it was Juneteenth, 4th of July, so to speak, New Year's Day, all of these different holidays that there's something very specific about what we eat and why we eat it. So all of those different foods, even some of the seasonings, why we had to do certain things, and what we had available to us, because everything wasn't available to us as enslaved people that kind of moved from being enslaved to all of a sudden you're a free person. What do we have that we can use to, or what were our enslavers allowing us to have that we ended up figuring out foods that were healthy and foods that we could eat. So our project, of course, became the whole African American, a taste of African American history. And that taste was 3 different food trucks that we had here in Tucson, that we also took to Bisbee, that we shared with people what people ate for New Year's Day. Why do you have greens and cornbread? Why do you have for Juneteenth things that are red based on the blood that was shed? Why do we have certain things that are important, like the stew that we found from a cookbook that was from the military that was based on the Buffalo Soldiers and the stews that they had to make?
And, I was able to, as I enter into my role, being able to partner with Beverly and having discussion on who should we partner with for this meal and that meal. And to be honest, individuals who had an opportunity to come out and participate in the Taste of African American History were absolutely blown away, especially when we were in the Bisbee area. We had so many people who had never had collard greens before. And so, folks were certainly, where do I get the cookbook? How do I access this information? They wanted more details about Camp Naco. And so the interest with not only Camp Naco, but also learning more about the museum and African American history was certainly elevated through this fellowship.
None of this would be possible, especially the museum, without the backing of, initially, the University of Arizona Foundation, and the president and CEO of the foundation is J.P. Rosniak. He loved the idea of us starting a museum. This actually used to be the space where it was the alumni room, which eventually they collaborated with the foundation. So this became the foundation alumni room, and they more or less gifted us this space, which was amazing because we had no idea where we were going to be, but we did want to be on the university campus. My primary reason for that was right after the pandemic, when all of this was going on, there were Jewish synagogues that were being desecrated. There were African American museums and other museums that had to shut down during that time. We figured if we were on the campus of the university is not going to shut down. So we thought we'd be around for a while. At least we had a great opportunity to get started. So the University Foundation was there. We've had amazing collaborations with people like Dr. Catherine Morrissey, who is with the History Department, Dr. Brian Carter with Digital Humanities. So we've had, the Eller College they provided us with interns. So we're really excited to be on campus, where we also have amazing classes where they come in and they want to learn more and they want to help us. And they might bring us gifts from the community, which has been a wonderful gift. We also want to thank our sponsors. Mel Zuckerman, the Zuckerman College, we called him immediately after we found out we could do this project. He immediately said $100,000 and I'll ask other people to match it. So what an amazing gift. I'm sorry. He passed away right after that. But we're so grateful to the Zuckerman family. Tucson Electric Power stepped up. Cox Communications stepped up. Jennifer Lose and the Community Foundation All of them stepped up and provided us with these amazing gifts of $100,000 to get started. Several of those, most of those coming before we even opened our doors, and provided us with ways to have these amazing exhibit places to exhibit our artifacts. The University of Arizona Facilities Management, we purchased these wonderful glass exhibit cases. They felt they were too low. They actually built all of the black storage cases underneath, popped them down in, and they're on rollers so that we are able to move them. Since that time, Alice and Paul Baker have donated $100,000 to the museum, along with Betsy Bruce, who has stepped up to the plate. And actually, she was just honored being the Southern Arizona Philanthropist of the Year. And as Nakia has said, we are partners with the ABC, which is a Better Community, the Juneteenth Festival. We just visited Ain't Misbehavin' at the Arizona Theater Company, but we're also very good friends with Tucson, Broadway of Tucson, which is right here on campus. The Centennial, we just did The Wiz. We were partners putting on The Wiz, and we have a couple of upcoming arts and theater things that we are very proud to say, which is a huge part of African American culture.
We really are thankful for everyone who supports the work of the museum. We operate 100% off of grants, gifts, and donations. A lot of folks don't know that we have a membership that you can become a part of here at the museum, and that gives you early access to some of our special events like our fireside chat conversations. We actually have Tony Dungy, who will be here very soon on February 18th, really sharing about faith, family, and football. We have tons of virtual and in-person workshops. And of course, we have our newsletter that we highly encourage individuals to subscribe to, because it keeps you up to date with not only what's happening with the museum and upcoming exhibits, but also keeping you connected to our community at large and everything that our community has to offer you.
I believe we did a wonderful job as a team here, along with Josh, along with the 3 chefs that we had. I learned a lot myself, so I was very grateful for that. And also the relationships that we had with the 3 chefs. Knew all of them a little bit, but got to know them a lot better. And it helped them. It elevated their businesses, because now they were seen by all these people at both parks. So they were very grateful for that as well.
And folks are excited for us to potentially take this as a virtual series moving forward.
Yes.
So to be determined and more to come.
Absolutely.
This fellowship really gave us an opportunity, specifically with the Taste of African American History and the Buffalo Soldier Stew. It really gave individuals an opportunity to transport themselves back into the life or the boots or the shoes of the Buffalo Soldier and experience the meal that the Buffalo Soldier had, from the potatoes to the carrots to the salt, the pepper, and just how all of it came together. The stew was absolutely delicious. You know, we served it with cornbread, but even in our cookbook, we gave a recipe for hardtack for folks who maybe want to just take a chance and make it. And so this fellowship really gave us an opportunity to elevate the conversation of the life of the Buffalo Soldier and, you know, why they utilized certain ingredients and what was readily available to them here in Southern Arizona.
We always say there are other gyms in this desert that share the story of the Buffalo Soldiers, because they were all over Southern Arizona, whether they were at Camp Naco or they were at Fort Huachuca.